Hello everybody, this is Vesper, the Evening Star, and I'll be your host today on Vesper's Fanfiction Time. So this is the reading for the second chapter of you call it Necromancy, I call it Making Friends. As you can see, I almost got it mixed up with I'll Be Your Hero at the Cost of Everything. I'm currently working on getting caught up in both stories, like Podfic-wise. I have read all of the chapters so far because both have been actively being updated and such. And yeah, they're really good stories. And yeah, as always, let's get right into the fic. Chapter 2. Homeless life is both simpler and more complicated than Izuku could have imagined. On the very first night, they learned that Dabi doesn't need sleep and doesn't feel hunger or thirst. It may seem obvious, after all. He has no stomach or any other organs, or muscles, or skin, or you get the idea. But he also has no vocal cords and can speak. As Dabi said, quirks are fucking weird. That's another thing about Dabi. He swears like a sailor. And this is with him trying to censor himself in front of Izuku. Not that Izuku cares about swearing. Hell, Kachan and Mitsuki swear all the time. Izuku may only be 6 years old, but he knows every swear word imaginable. But he's getting off the subject. Life on the streets. Since Dabi doesn't need sleep, he stands guard while Izuku sleeps. The next day, they found way back to the city. And also, their first problem. A skeleton attracts a lot of attention. Even with the countless mutation quirks that exist, a skeleton is something that is not commonly seen. The blanket that Hazashi put in Izuku's book bag ends up serving as a makeshift cloak, and they end up resorting to dumpster diving in search of food. Dabi suggests robbing a convenience store, but Izuku quickly shoots the idea down. He's not a villain and doesn't intend to act like one. To avoid attracting attention, they usually go out at night. Going out at night means fewer people to bump into, but it also means a greater chance of encouraging crime, or in this case, a crime scene. Honestly, Izuku thought he would feel worse seeing a dead body for the first time. Well, second if you count Dabi, but it was only a skull. This man, with shoulder-length white hair, lying on the ground in a pool of his own blood, with an obvious stab wound in his abdomen, doesn't seem to have been dead for more than a few hours. Still, Izuku doesn't feel nervous looking at him. Could this be another effect of his quirk? It has been a few hours since he died, Dabi says, grabbing the corpse's arm and trying to move it. See, this is called rigor mortis, and it usually happens 4 to 8 hours after death. And how do you know that? Izuku asks. I have no idea. Dabi shrugs. I was probably a fan of criminal TV series. Then he looks back at the body. Anyway, will you do your thing? What? Izuku looks at him, surprised. You want me to reanimate him? Why not? Dabi asks. This place isn't exactly hidden, so if he has been there for so long, there's probably no one searching for him. And having a zombie who looks human, a adult, could really help us. I guess. Izuku looks back at the body. But still, isn't that unethical? It's your quirk, kid. There's nothing wrong with using it, Dabi replies. After he wakes up, you can ask him if he wants to stay alive. But unless it was a suicide, I doubt that anyone would want to die. Okay, I guess. Izuku is still slightly unsure, but he kneels in front of the body. Izuku turns the body so that it's lying on its back. Then he bites his wrist and lets the blood fall on the corpse. The result is almost instantaneous. The pool of blood begins to flow back into the body, and then the wound closes. When the process is over, the only evidence that this man had ever been stabbed is the tear in his shirt. Izuku applies pressure to stop the bleeding, and his regeneration takes care of the rest. A scab soon forms, which stops the bleeding. A few seconds later, the man begins to move. He opens his hazel eyes and quickly takes in everything around him. As if remembering something, he throws himself into a sitting position and brings his hands to his abdomen, where his wound was. Am I alive? He asks. Hello, mister, Izuku greets. I'm Midoriya Izuku, and I brought you back. Brought me back? The man asks, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, he did the same to me, Dabi says, waving a bony hand. You kicked the bucket. The man frowns, rubbing his abdomen. I think it was mugging, he says, tilting his head. The guy had a knife, I'm sure. Do you remember anything else? Izuku asked. Dabi didn't even remember his name. I think it was because he was dead for a long while. I only found his bones. Ah, so you really are a skeleton? The man asked. I thought you were the scrawniest person I have ever seen. You don't seem to have a six-pack under that shirt either, Dabi replies. Asshole. The man chuckles and then looks back to Izuku. Let me think. He stops for a few seconds. Name? I'm drawing a blank. Age? I think I'm 24 years old. I'm 90% sure I lived alone. My quirk is called Mending. It's a healing quirk that draws from my own stamina to heal runes. It's very inefficient, so even healing small runes makes me exhausted. The kid reanimated me a few days ago, and I didn't even feel tired even once since then, Dabi says. I don't need to eat, drink, or sleep. I'm almost sure I have infinite stamina. Worth a try, the man shrugs. Are any of you wounded? Izuku shows him his wrist. My quirk is blood-based, he explains. I need my blood to touch a body to reanimate it. He thinks for a bit as the man holds his arm and looks at the wound. I also have a few scars on my back. My father really hated me. The man nods and gently puts his hand above the wound. A green glow comes out of his hand, and Izuku has a warm feeling in his body. When the man removes his hand, the wound is completely gone, including the scars beginning to form. Huh, you're right. The man turns to Dabi. I don't feel tired. Wow, mister, your quirk is amazing, Izuku says, and he feels his shirt being lifted. Hey, he healed your scars too, Dabi says, looking at his back. Interesting. I wonder what my new limits are, the man says. I wonder if I could give you your body back. Maybe, Dabi shrugs. But I like being a skeleton. It freaks people out. I'd really like to find some clothes, though. Do you remember anything else? Izuku asks. Not really. He pats his pockets. No cell phone, no wallet either. The guy who mugged me probably took both. He pats his coat pocket. Oh, keys! He looks at Izuku. I think I was close to home. Are you up for trying to go house by house until we find mine? Not really. But do we have a choice? Izuku asks. Well, you can pretend to be someone who knows me and knock on a house asking for me. The man replies. At what, 3 a.m? Dabi shoots back. The only thing he'll get is a door to the face. Let's go with the first plan for now, Izuku suggests. Who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky? Spoiler, they don't get lucky. For the next few hours, they try house by house on the street and then in the nearby streets. None opens. As dawn breaks, the first people start to leave for work. They decide to go with Plan B. The man and Dabi hide while Izuku approaches a woman leaving her house. Excuse me, miss? Izuku calls her, putting on his best innocent face. The effect is reduced by the dirt accumulated on his skin as well as his pale appearance. And the woman doesn't question it. I'm looking for my uncle's house. He's tall, long white hair, hazel eyes, pale skin. The woman thinks for a few seconds. I see him every once in a while. She points to the next street. He always comes from there, but I'm not sure where he lives. Thank you, miss, Izuku replies, bowing his head. You're welcome, she replies, turning away to leave. Whoever he is, I hope he treats you better than whoever was your guardian before, she mutters as she leaves. Izuku goes back to Dabi and the man. She pointed to the next street, but she doesn't know the house, Izuku explains. Well, let's go, the man says. The next street has a lot of apartments. Izuku tries one of them and is met by a tall man with tan skin, brown hair, and brown eyes. He appears to be middle-aged. Excuse me, mister. Do you know where my uncle lives? Izuku asks. He's tall, long white hair, hazel eyes, pale skin. The man raises an eyebrow. He never mentioned family before. Then he shrugs. Not that I ask. I don't really care as long as he pays his rent on time. I'm his landlord, he explains. He lives on the 3rd floor, apartment 564. Let him know that his rent is due in a week. Thank you, mister, Izuku replies and starts going to the stairs. The man observes him for a few more seconds, then goes back inside and closes the door. As soon as Izuku is sure he won't come back, he waves for Dabi and the man. Is it there? Dobby asks. He said it's on the 3rd floor, Izuku replies. Apartment 564. Cool. Let's go, the man replies. Hopefully I have something with my name there. He also said that your rent is due in 1 week, Izuku adds. Hopefully I'm not hurting for cash, the man mumbles. Arriving at the apartment in question, he tries the key. The 3 of them sigh in relief when the door opens. All right, come on in. Make yourself at home, I guess, the man says, entering and taking off his shoes. Izuku does the same, but Dobby isn't wearing any shoes, so he just enters. The man explores his own home, while Izuku stands awkwardly at the entrance. Dobby shamelessly lies down on his sofa. Damn it, the man curses as he enters back. How is it possible that I don't have a single electric bill with my name on it? Maybe everything goes to the landlord and he just repasses it later, Dobby suggests. No use on thinking on it too much. I mean, I don't remember my name either. Really? So your parents didn't name you Cremation? The man asked with a smirk. What kind of parents would have named their child that? Dobby asked. Nowadays, many, the man replies with a shrug. Anyway, he turns to Izuku. While Dobby and I don't need to eat or sleep, I assume you do. On cue, Izuku's stomach grumbles, and he looks away in embarrassment. The man points to a door on the left. I'll fix something for you. Meanwhile, you can take a bath. Thank you. Izuku bows. It's at least been a week since I last took a bath. It's no problem. The man waves him off. I'll have some clothes ready for you. They'll be a bit too large, but it's better than wearing your dirty clothes. Izuku nods and enters the bathroom. The bathroom is relatively cramped, but Izuku doesn't mind. He cleans himself while the tub fills up. He needs to repeat the process about 3 times to get all of the grime that he has accumulated after days on the streets. He hesitates a bit before using the shampoo, but he needs to wash his hair. He decides he will find a way to repay the man later. He frowns at how much dirt falls from his curls. He hears a knock at the door. Hey, kid, Dobby calls. I'm leaving a few towels and clothes in the front of the door. The man said you can use anything you need. Then he leaves, muttering, we need something better to call him than the man. Izuku stays in the bathroom for a few more minutes, carefully cleaning every part he can reach. When he's finally satisfied, he rinses himself off and opens the door. He finds a small pile of neatly folded clothes and towels in the front of the door. Before getting dressed, he looks at himself in the mirror. His dull eyes and pale face greet him as usual, a sight he has grown accustomed to after a few months. His bizarre appearance earned Izuku the nickname Corpse at school, but he never cared for it much. He knows he looks like a walking corpse. Gently running his hand over his chest and back, he notes, as Dobby said, the scars from his father's abuse are gone, as if they never existed. Izuku is grateful for that. He hated those scars. He doesn't need any more reminders of how much his parents hated him. Shaking his head, he turns to the pile of clothes. As expected, the clothes are too big for Izuku. Shorts end up being pants on him. The shirt looks like a dress and leaves one of his shoulders exposed. After clearing everything as neatly as possible, he leaves the bathroom and heads to the kitchen, where he finds a plate of toast on the table. So, I just found out I can't cook, the man says, pointing to the sink where there's a pan with something burnt, so it's impossible to say what it was supposed to be. Fortunately, you can't go wrong when making toast. It's more than enough, Izuku replies, sitting down at the table. Thank you, mister. Come on, kid, drop the mister, the man replies. You saved my life, or gave it back to me. You're still dead, Izuku replies. Your heart doesn't beat anymore, and you don't need to breathe. But I'm still here, the man replies. I might not remember who I was before, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, look. He gestures to the apartment. I can't say that I was a 24-year-old man with no family living alone in an apartment in one of the worst parts of Mustafa. I doubt there's too much I'd rather remember. He smiles at Izuku. I'm grateful for this second chance you gave me, Midoriya. Same here, shorty, Dobby replies. You're not that much taller than him, the man teases. I bet he'll get taller than you in no time. Maybe, but I'll tease him while I still can, Dobby shrugs. Izuku smiles as he eats. It's just toast, but it tastes so good. Maybe it's just the hunger, but he can't remember anything he ate in the last 2 years that tasted so good. Well, I don't say I didn't warn you when he gets a little taller than you and starts teasing you back, the man teases. As they bicker, Izuku lets out a giggle behind the toast. It must be the company. It's what he decides. When was the last time he even ate with someone? In the last 2 years at home, when Unko remembered to feed him, he always ate alone in his room. But here, with the two bickering happily, Izuku almost feels like he has a family again. He feels something dripping on his hand and looks, finding a drop on it. He looks up, expecting to see a drip, but there's nothing. Another drop drips on his arm, and he suddenly realizes that Dabi and the man had stopped talking. He turns to them, and they're looking at him with surprised expressions. What? Izuku asks, surprising himself with his shaking voice. He brings a hand to his face and feels it wet. Oh, I'm crying, he says eloquently. Why am I crying? He asks no one in particular. I'm so happy right now. So why am I crying? People can cry from happiness too, Dabi says. Izuku remembers a time when he used to cry from happiness all the time, but it feels like such a long time ago. He finishes eating in silence, with tears still falling, but no one comments on them. The man simply puts a cup of water in front of Izuku, and Izuku gives him a watery smile before drinking. The tears dry up after a few seconds, and Izuku begins to feel sleepy. Looking at the wall, he sees a clock hanging down that reads about 7:30 a.m. He's been up all night, and while Dabi doesn't need sleep, he does. He tries to stifle a yawn while rubbing his eyes. Come on, you can sleep in my bed, the man says, picking Izuku up. He takes Izuku to a simple plain room with a desk and a bed in the corner and tucks Izuku in the bed, putting a blanket on him. You're quite good with kids, Dabi comments. Are you sure you don't have a family? I mean, I don't really remember, the man replies. But I feel that I don't. Make sense? It does, Dabi says. I mean, I feel that I had a family, but at the same time, I feel that I don't want to go back to them. He pauses for a moment. Izuku feels his eyes getting heavier as the two start leaving. You know, we need to call you something. I don't know if I'll ever find out and reclaim your old name, but just calling you the man is confusing. Fair enough, the man says. I know. The last thing Izuku hears before falling asleep is the man saying, with a smirk in his voice, Call me Frank. Frankenstein. Then he drifts into a dreamless sleep, free of nightmares, for the first time in months. And everybody, that was chapter 2 of, you call it necromancy, I call it making friends. It's really funny because I do a abbreviation for like that. So like on my computer, like the audio file like for this is YCINICIMF chapter 2 instead of just like writing the entire thing out. It's really funny actually. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that. There will be more to come. It's just slow workings. But yeah. Oh my god, I forgot how to do outro. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay. Have a good morning, good night, good afternoon, have a good whatever and everything. Bye y'all. See you next time.